Hey, I'm Benji, and I'm here continuing the Gender 101 series for I'm Here, I'm Cool, What the Hell Do I Read with
BJ Taylor.
So, BJ, I know that sometimes it can be hard to find role models and heroes that you look up to. Were there people that helped you, or how did you find folks, or?
As I was coming into myself, as I was coming into who I was, I didn't really see anyone. I'm, I'm not old, but I'm older. Let's just put it that way. And the media, I mean, even now it's hard to see anything, but back then it definitely wasn't. Gender conforming was how everything was. Matter of fact, you didn't even really see gay people or lesbian people who did the flamboyant bit enough that you could even mirror off of that bit. There was, from the 70s, there was a Rock and Horror Picture Show, which was a transvestite, which wasn't quite it, but was not within gender. And then there was RuPaul, who was a professional drag queen more than anything else. So I didn't see anyone that was kind of a person I can emulate in gender nonconformity myself, because both of those people were people whose physical outward portrayal went against gender, but I fit that very well. It was my personality, who I felt I was in my core, and who I want to be, that I didn't see. And I found that was really kind of a problem. As I got to be, older and find my own way, there was actually a point in life where there was someone who I'd known for a long time in my life without outing them too much. And it was a very unusual, quirky person that you didn't feel you ever understood, but you thought you knew. And we were having this conversation, and I was just very outward about who I was and what I was going through talking. And they stopped for a moment, and they said, there's something I want to tell you. And I was like, okay. And they proceeded to start to tell me some of their story. And then they, as I would put it, came out of the storage closet or the storage shed. Because when a gay person comes out, they come out of the closet. But he literally came out of storage. He took me to his storage unit and showed me where he actually had all of his clothes, his pictures of himself, his wigs, his makeup, and all that. And this person was actually married with children, living a very flat-out normative life. And they basically kept this secret for the sake of their family for all this time. And I was really kind of in awe at that they were able to find a way to at least be true to themselves in some aspects, in some very minute places, but still live that life, because that was something I was struggling a lot for finding a way to be myself, but to still fit within what society expected. Because if you want to be successful in this world, you want to have good and lasting relationships and a good workplace and move on and have friends and all those kinds of things, you almost kind of have to, I felt, to some degree, hide quite a bit of yourself. I mean, I couldn't just outwardly be who I wanted to be and present how I wanted to present to every person I came across. I mean, it wasn't going to get me where I wanted to be. And I found that was very difficult to work with. So finding someone that had found this way to, for many, many years, at least embrace both of those lives, even though they couldn't make them one, I found that to be quite inspiring to myself. Sad, but still inspiring.
I find that so sad and almost upsetting, because I would almost think that the goal is that you do find a way to integrate, and you do find a way to live authentically.
Oh, I agree, and I would love to be in that world, but you have to kind of be realistic to some point. And as I said, they were married, they had children, they were part of a very active church. I mean, it was one of those kinds of things where embracing all of who they were was going to mean walking away from their life. That was just where their life was. And I could identify with that to some degree. The kinds of things I wanted to do in my life weren't going to allow me to be wholly me all the time. One of the things that I've always loved is I love the internet. Love the internet. I play a lot of video games. Horrible nerd. But a lot of them, there are role-playing type games, I can create a female sexed avatar and be myself. Just flat out. not pretending to be a girl or this or that. Just be who I am, speak how I want to speak, you know, talk about the kinds of things I want to talk about. And people just kind of assume that you're a girl then. And it's okay. Because there's not this appearance locking in what I should be doing. And I just make sure in those games to kind of hide everything that would be attached to this so that I can continue to be myself. So I've yet to find a place in the real world outside of small little niche communities where I can just be me outright.
And I guess that's the goal, right? We got to change this world. So.
Oh yeah, would love to. But yeah, I don't see myself going through the sex change operation just because I find myself to be an incredibly attractive, physically male-sexed person, and I don't think I could, through today's man-made science, do half of what Mother Nature can do towards those aspects of beauty. And I don't know if that makes sense. You know, kind of one of those. I don't find myself particularly be incredibly religious, but for lack of better words, I've yet to see mankind do better than what God could do in those creations. If there was some way that I could just be a woman and be a woman, naturally born woman, do it in a heartbeat, without second thought. But I don't see myself, after going through most of the transitional stuff that we have in today's technology, feeling like that's who I am. I feel trapped in the middle there. I haven't seen many people go through the process that were able to accomplish in looks what they felt they had in their mind. And I've talked to people who've had that issue where, you know, they were as close as they could get, but they weren't where they wanted to be. And I almost feel better being a very good-looking, self-confident man, physically, being who I am, than being a very insecure, physically sexed woman, but closer to comfortable to those things. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm elaborating it well.
Life's definitely full of lots of compromises and sort of imperfect situations.
Yeah.
And so many ways to be.
Yeah. So you had mentioned, BJ, that sort of having that rift, that schism between, for instance, being expected to go play football and wanting to go look at patterns. And I know those sort of rifts can be sources of a lot of deep pain. And so with sort of having a lack of being able to align, you know, into one presentation, are there other ways that you found that you've been able to heal?
I think for me, one of the big things that's helped in healing is to try and find the silver linings. Because there are a lot of places where those things really do hurt, but I've tried to find the places where they help. For instance, as I said, I am personally physically sexed male, but I'm a straight male. I am into people who present as women. As such, I've found that while I had a lot of slack I had to pick up from other males and what I liked and what I enjoyed, I found that it helped me a lot in relationships because I was able to much better understand my partners, having a lot more in common with them than the typical men they've come across. I also found that it was a matter of picking your friends well. Generally, I didn't have as many close friends as a lot of other people I knew for those kinds of issues. But the people who appreciated me and who came into my inner circle were a lot closer to me than I found friends of a lot of my other friends were. You know, I had less acquaintances and more true friends, and I think that was something to embrace and to remember. Yeah, you may not be the world's most popular, you might be more infamous than famous, but the people who are by your side, I feel, in those kinds of positions are a lot truer by your side than others. When I was in high school and things came up, the people who were standing by me were a lot more solid than those friends that I saw for other people, because they're not worried about those social graces and the popularity bits and all that. They're already there with you. You know, you don't have those fake friends as much. And I found that was big. And as I said, another thing for me was the internet, finding places where you could outlet. For me, that was it. I didn't know of any trans communities, transgender, transsexual communities to be part of at the time. But I was able to find a place where, I mean, there, as I said before, I couldn't ever present myself the way I would want to physically. There, I could create such an avatar that was who I felt I was going to be. You know, it was the representation of who I would want to be. and I could be that person and just openly be me. And for me, that helped a lot. Was just the anonymity of the internet. Every now and then, if someone found out something somewhere, you'd come across issues of, oh, well, you were just trying to do this to get attention. Of it, no, just be me. And if that really came up, it was much easier to cut ties there. You know, you just either quit that game, move to another server, start a new game. It was really easy to, if things went bad in those instances, to be able to just cut ties and start over. Where back in the real world, it was not that simple. When I had these issues come out in high school, it was the rest of my high school before I was able to cut ties and start over that I had to deal with those issues that had come up. So I think finding places where you can be you, to whatever it may be. For some people, the issue, I think, is more of their physical representation. And for them, I think it's probably much more difficult. I can't speak to that myself. Because I physically present as people would expect me to. But I think that even then, that brings about some weird stuff. People will sometimes give me grief when I talk about being trans. And they'll be like, oh, no, you're not. You know, you got a beard, you mustache, you like playing video games, you look at porn, XYZ reasons why I can't be trans. And it's like, well, no, those are just small little, specks of who I am. The greater being of me isn't just that. They want to take... I think they want to feel comfortable. I think it's really, they don't want to feel awkward, and they see you as being a normal person, normal in their eyes, and they don't want to break that illusion. It's like when your friend that had glasses all the time you've ever known them gets contacts. You're like, you're not you anymore. But I think they want to have that because I go through so much to try and present as a normal person that when they start to see, oh wait, you're not normal, you don't consider yourself normal, no, that's not right. So, no, that can't be it. You're just, no. Having to fight that. And I think that if I were to be someone that was more physically non-conforming, I probably wouldn't come across that as much. So I don't know, I think it's kind of what grass is greener. No, so it's not really that green on the other side either, to be honest. But yeah,
the grass is greener on another planet.
Yeah, it's odd because you have people who are the same community going through some of the same things that have such completely different and varying stories. Even being part of the GLBT community, there'll be loads of times I'll be at the Pride Center and they'll be like, yeah, we have no clue what it is they're going through, we don't understand. Or, you'll even be there and there'll be, the activist people at the Pride Center that you have to explain what transgender and transsexual is, what the difference is, why transvestites aren't them. And, it's always an uphill battle.
Well, hopefully by doing these, we're moving the world forward and
Oh, yeah.
making it easier, making it better.
So. Even if one person finds something at all worth taking from it, it's worth it in the long run.
Well, thank you so much for helping it move forward.
Great start.